I literally just longed Bitcoin from the bottom. Bitcoin actually dumped. We had waited for this move. We wanted Bitcoin to go over and actually cross 86.5, lose this area and actually get a reaction. The market just opened and we've got the current amazing long from the bottom because obviously that is precisely and exactly what happened on Bitcoin. We had gotten the move on late Sunday to Monday open. We got the fake out of 86.5. We got the most amazing reaction, jumped into the long, and right now we are printing money. I already booked 50% off, as you can see. However, I still hold a good portion of the trade, with Bitcoin actually finally bouncing from 86 or the low of 86 point or 85.9 all the way higher now to 88.6. I'm going to be talking about the best next trade. Will I be closing this long, or will I actually be entering more longs? Let me save you some time. I'm not, or I will never ever close an amazing long like this one, as you can see, because obviously we caught the bottom on Bitcoin. Now unfortunately, I cannot tell you whether this would end up being a little bottom or a local bottom or a very large bottom where Bitcoin actually starts pumping from. I have no idea. However, as a trader, I'm happy and just happy for taking a trade that made me money, moved my stop loss to entry, and currently even printing more money. However, I do got new ideas and also potentially new trades, whether Bitcoin wants and would like to finally break the downtrend that was started from us dropping heavily from 96k, or whether Bitcoin actually wants to break the low and continue lower. I got two options. I couldn't care less what happens because we will be having a plan to be making money and profiting off of whatever happens next. So let's start with the best next idea for a short and also for a long. Now obviously, before I talk about the longs will be obviously much lower and will be on the higher time frame. Let's talk about the current local time frame, because on the local time frame, all I have to say currently is that I did actually take the long and moved, as you can see, my stop loss to entry with guaranteed amount of profits. However, if you're looking to trade, I think that the closest potential trade, especially with the market currently open on Monday, could be potentially actually to look for a short. I have two different ideas for short. As I told you guys, the friend is our friend. Even though I'm totally against randomly selling in the market, I would never ever tell you to short randomly just because Bitcoin had dropped and could actually continue dropping. We can go and jump on the lower time frame and look for a little pump that would offer us an amazing short to enter. So let's start with the obvious red zone that could be pointing us towards entering a short if Bitcoin actually decides to go higher, and the keyword is if. I have no idea, but if it goes higher, I could be potentially looking to take a short trade at around 89.4 to 90k, where we get a fake out and then lose again 89.4. This could be a potential short setup where we actually put a lower high, as you can see, a continuous lower highs, as you can see here, and then maybe this would be the time where Bitcoin actually goes lower. I have no idea whether this would end up being an amazing short or not. However, I will be just waiting for Bitcoin to go back or go up to 89. If it doesn't, then well, I have another short that was open from 96k, so I'm ready to take a stop loss entry target profit on the long if Bitcoin just drops from now. But if it keeps on going, I will be watching for 89.5 to 90k. If we actually never get a rejection off of this zone, I'll cancel this idea of a long or a short, sorry, and I'll be waiting for a much better one, which is actually just taking out the high of Friday, as you can see, and preferably also taking out those little highs on Tuesday, with obviously hitting this anchored view up. Now this is a very crucial anchored view up pull. Why? Because it's basically signaling where the downtrend was actually started and whether this downtrend is still intact or not. So think about it this way: Bitcoin had started and did start actually a downtrend ever since we started dropping from 96k. So whenever or as long as the price is below this blue line, is currently technically and mathematically in a downtrend. So if Bitcoin even goes above to 91.5, gives us a fake out of these highs, we are still technically in a downtrend until proven otherwise by actually going and getting back above 91.5. So technically I'm bearish, leaning more lower or towards lower on Bitcoin. However, this is not a tradable sentence. Every single trade I will be giving today, guys, because as I told you guys, we don't trade based on sentiment or actually technical view. I have ideas for longs at lower or in lower prices, and also shorts at higher price. So now that we covered the potential two trades given, as you can see here, we got one which is a fake out of 90k. The second one is at 91.4. So I'm ready for Bitcoin, and I'm ready to enter more amazing shorts if Bitcoin actually keeps on going higher. But whether Bitcoin goes higher or not, now, like for example, Bitcoin, if it goes to 90k and then goes lower, or goes lower from now, what if, and that's the key question, what if actually Bitcoin goes below and loses 86k? What should we do? Or 86.5k? Now we have two possibilities. Which one? Or the first one is actually a little scalp long, where actually if Bitcoin decides to take out the lows, as you can see, gives us a fake out of the low of Monday and then reclaims 86.5. This could be a viable long, not a preferred one of mine. I probably won't be entering this because I already used up my technical views of entering a long here, so I'm not going to be entering again. However, the main important thing here is to actually put more emphasis on is to remind you guys that in case Bitcoin on the higher time frame, forget about predictions, and we're talking about reality, guys, here. If Bitcoin somehow, somewhere loses, as I told you guys, the value early area low, as you can see here, which is at around 86.5. If we lose 86.5, and the keyword is if, and we hold it as resistance from support, and the keyword is also here if, because obviously yesterday we got on a fake out and we caught a long from here. But if Bitcoin genuinely just loses 86.5, never ever gets back above 86.5, then we have to be very, very careful. And actually, to be honest, that would be a warning sign of potentially Bitcoin actually dropping to even 78k. I told you guys that ever since Bitcoin had given us the amazing fake out of 97.96, which was the range, technically the range high of this consolidation, where everybody got super euphoric, started longing, whereas we managed to actually enter a short at 96.4. Also similarly, if Bitcoin actually goes low or goes below 80k, everybody will get sad and mad and probably start shorting and selling sub 80k. However, we could be only potentially looking for a reversal sign, looking for a reclaim, and potentially longing the low. So I'm not saying that Bitcoin will be dropping to 78. I'm merely just mentioning an amazing setup of a long if everyone gets shorts or shorts this low, and if Bitcoin goes lower. So if Bitcoin goes lower, we know what to do, but we're not predicting here. We're merely just focusing on 86.5, because that is the point to hold. If Bitcoin loses 86.5, then potentially I'll be eyeing out an area of 80k, even sometimes, or possibly even 76k on Bitcoin.